So Anne Shapiro is with us today. We're so excited to have you here, Anne. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, yes, what a pleasure. So Anne, you are the Executive Director of Connecticut Storytelling Center.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been in this position?
I have been in this position for 20 years.
Wow, that's a really long time. That's a lot of stories.
It is a lot of stories.
So stories about the center, stories about you. So tell me the story of Connecticut Storytelling Center. It's kind of a mouthful, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
So in 1981, Barbara Reed, who was a professor at Connecticut College, had the nerve to put on a storytelling festival with her students as their sort of end of the year project, and she called it the first annual Connecticut Storytelling Festival. And this year we're going to have number 39.
Wow.
So, yes, so she was right to call it the first annual.
That's amazing.
And so she attracted many storytellers to come, and some of the public and some teachers. And after the festival, everyone said, you know, this isn't enough just to have one festival once a year. We want to have a storytelling center. And so Barbara's office became the Connecticut Storytelling Center. I served on the board early on, and then as things progressed and Barbara started to include school programs in what she did, she asked me to be the education director.
Wow, so education director. What was the first thing you did as education director?
The first thing I did was look for more schools.
Oh.
Because Barbara had started it in New London, which only made sense because here we were. But I wanted to see if we could really make it a statewide thing. And slowly we added schools, and up until this point where we serve 10,000 kids a year, we see a lot of kids in a lot of schools.
10,000.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So back up. So Barbara Reed then started the center, started the festival 39 years ago, and you're on the board of directors. Did it start out as a 501c3?
No, it started out as part of Connecticut College, so we were sort of an advisory board. And then, long after, it was 1997, Barbara was stepping back a little bit, and we hired an executive director, and we decided that we really needed our own nonprofit status so that we could write our own grants and weren't so involved in the college's business that it was hard to do our own business. So we got our nonprofit status at that time, and then there became a real board of directors, but by that time I was already on the staff.
Wow. And how many years has that been? That's been 20 years.
That 20 years as executive director, but I've been involved since the beginning as on the board and then as the education program manager. So
if anybody has a question, you are the go-to person.
I guess if I can remember, yes.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for doing that. And tell me about stories. And it's not stories like what we think of with grandma in a rocking chair with her hair in a bun, right?
No.
And kids at her feet, and she turns the pages.
And it's not reading a book either, although, of course, many stories come from books, but many stories come just from people's insides, and they create their own stories. A lot of the stories are folk tales handed down in the oral tradition.
So there's personal stories,
folk tales, there's legends, there's true stories from history. And Barbara's idea for the festival was that it should be as inclusive as possible with all sorts of stories, all sorts of storytellers. She once said to me, if someone doesn't walk out of the festival saying, was that really a story? Then she felt that she wasn't successful. She wanted it to be something, that people questioned all the different ways that you can tell a story. You can tell a story through dance. You can tell, everything. We're just storytelling people.
Right. So it's just really the tip of the iceberg, as the cliche would say, that what you do as far as getting up on a stage or even not even on a stage, but just performing and sharing.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's just the beginning.
And there are many of our members who say that the kitchen table storytelling is their favorite storytelling, just when we're talking to each other over a cup of coffee.
Sure.
And sharing the stories of our lives.
Absolutely. And what do you find, what is the takeaway, what do people say about stories and how they change lives or how they impact people?
They help to connect people to each other, because you hear a story, someone's personal story, and you probably had an experience like that, or you felt that way. And stories also allow us to share our values with each other without saying, this is what you should do. The story will say what the value is, and it's easier for people to accept it that way.
So like a fable almost, where there's a moral to the story.
Right, and you don't always have to spell it out. People pull the moral from what they hear.
Exactly. Yeah. And do you think that's important, that people kind of discern or define it for themselves?
Sure. It's like looking at a painting. Anybody who looks at a painting will see different things. And when you hear a story, everybody's going to hear it from their own perspective, from their life experience. They'll pull the thing that means something to them. Or else you don't care about that story at all, if it doesn't hit you where you live.
What's your favorite kind of story, Anne?
I love to tell stories to children, and so I love folk tales. I'm also a musician, so I like to put music either in the story or right around the story to help the kids listen, participate, and get it.
Why is that important to have children listen to stories, do you think?
Well, I always knew intuitively that it's a way that we share who we are.
Yes.
But I learned after telling stories for many years from a reading teacher that the first 3 components of literacy are listening and understanding as you listen, speaking fluently, and visualizing. And that's what you need to do to be able to read a book.
Exactly.
And so storytelling is a perfect way in, before you can read, to hear someone tell it to you and to be able to see their face and their expressions and their body language and connect to it in that way. Then you're getting the language. It's
absolutely
perfect for, especially preschool and through first grade, where kids are just beginning to learn those things.
Well, just learning to sit down.
Yep, right.
And sit in a circle, perhaps, or the responsive kinds of things that go back and forth that you do with having them, and that's part of the turn-taking process that you have in a conversation, which is part of storytelling.
And it's so important for today's kids because they have so much input from computers and smartphones and all of those electronic devices that don't give them really the human aspect of things.
So do you think kids are learning to identify emotions in the characters and in the storyteller? And
yes, they don't get from a computer.
You couldn't. No. There's no way, right? No. I don't think that isn't something.
Even if you have a storyteller who is on a video, it is not the same as having a storyteller there with you, because of course the story changes depending on who you're telling it to.
Exactly.
And so you see a kid who looks confused, who doesn't seem to understand the story, incorporates the explanation.
And you bring him along in a different path that you might have done than how you might have done it otherwise.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Wow.
Or the kids laugh at a certain part, and then okay, they think that's funny, I'll do that again.
Yeah. So you engage the audience. It's kind of a little bit on the order of improv, where you have your agenda, of course, or your story, but in the process of it, you might change it up a little bit in relationship.
Absolutely.
And the same would probably be true, I would think, of older listeners as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And another funny thing that I've seen happen in our schools program is some schools will have several different storytellers come in. And one time, one of the second or the third storytellers came in and started to tell a story, and the kids all said, "Oh, we know that story. The other storyteller told us that story." And she said, "Oh, good. So now you're familiar with it, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. And then we'll talk about how was it different, the way I told it from the way she told it." And boy, did they come up with lots of differences, not only not so much in the plot, but in the detail and in what else was added by that person.
Well, it's just like if you read a book for a second time. I remember when my kids were in high school, I used to always read whatever book they were reading, like The Great Gatsby. And of course, I read that when I was in high school, but then when you read it 20, 25, 30 years later, you just have a different takeaway from it. So each time you look at a piece of art or a story or storytelling center.
Because you've changed.
Of course. Yeah. And just the analytical skills and the awareness.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so important. And you know, I worked in the school, so the Common Core is what you're really teaching by the thinking, listening, speaking skills. And then you're doing the higher order thinking skills where you're teaching them to analyze and then defend what they're saying.
Right. We often will talk about what was the problem in the story and how did the main character solve it. And well, what if you were there? What would you have done?
Wow.
You know?
And those are really life skills, aren't they? Where you can just take away something that you don't know what adversity you're going to be facing at some point down the road. And we need to be ready for different experiences.
That's right.
So that's the school program, 10,000. Now you said New London. Is it just in New London that you do this?
No. It's all over the place.
Wow.
New London is where we started, but we have a big schools program in Middletown and in New Britain and in Bristol, in Norwich, and many other places where we don't spend quite as much time. And many of the places are in preschools, and some of them are in elementary schools.
Nice. So. Now, just Connecticut, or
just Connecticut?
Not Massachusetts, or
no? We're the Connecticut Storytelling Center, so we stay within our borders.
Okay, well, that's really amazing, and that's one program. And is there another program? I heard something about Telebration.
Yes, Telebration was started almost 20 years ago by a board member whose name was J.G. Pinkerton. J.G.
Pinkerton, that's an amazing name.
Yes, he is a person who was in the corporate world for all of his whole career. And when he retired, he became interested in storytelling, and he moved to Connecticut from Texas. And somehow, I'm not sure how, he met Barbara Reed, and she got him to be on this advisory board. And he said, you know, we need some kind of an outreach program that will show people what storytelling is. They hear the word storytelling, they think firstly of children, and it's not just for children.
Right.
And they think of books, and it's not just books either. And so he thought up the term Telebration, which I love.
Which is like a celebration of telling.
Yes, so, exactly.
Okay.
And his idea was almost like guerrilla warfare. He said these 6 people are going to be on the program. Each one of you storytellers is going to get 10 people to come be the audience.
Oh, wow.
And so, yes, so we sort of took that on and got an audience, and they loved it. And so it became a every year thing. Not only did it become an every year thing for Connecticut, but then the National Story Network also picked up on it. So then it became, I think there's one in every state in the Union.
And I heard that it was international.
It is. I think that Iceland, I think, is the only country that does not have a Telebration yet.
Well, we are just going to have to make a trip to Iceland. I bet Iceland in November would be a bad place to visit.
Yeah.
Do you have to go? Does it have to be in November?
Yes. It used to be this Saturday night before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then as we developed Telebration and started involving libraries, historical societies, community centers, schools, any place that would be appropriate to have a partnership like that, we couldn't keep it on one night anymore because we just didn't have enough storytellers.
So multiple locations. How many cities are we in now for
This
Telebration?
year there are 30 sites for Telebration.
Well, congratulations.
Yes.
That sounds like quite a success.
Yes, and some of them are for adults, some of them are for kids, and some of them are for families.
Nice.
And there's one in East Lyme.
Really?
Yes, there's one in East Lyme on November 14th at 7:30, and that's for families.
Oh.
So it'll be a fun time for kids and adults.
Should promise to be a good event and good outcomes, I'm hoping. So tell me about some of the other Telebrations. They're all over the state. There's one in Rowayton that I've heard about.
Rowayton was the first one.
Oh,
that was the one where JG got it going, and it still is going all these many years afterwards. I'm actually going to tell it that one this year.
Are
I'm
you?
so happy. I haven't been there in a long time.
Nice.
So.
And what does this do? What do people get paid to tell these stories?
No. All the tellers volunteer their services for Telebration. It is the only time I ask them to do such a thing because I'm all for professional storytellers being paid what they are worth. But Telebration works as a fundraiser for the Storytelling Center. So for example, if a library has a celebration, if they want one storyteller, they will pay us $250.
Nice.
The storyteller gets nothing. They're volunteering their services, so the money goes to the center to help us keep doing what we're doing.
Exactly, and you're touching a lot of lives. And this is a good outreach program. So you're building the program, but you're having fun while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And money's coming back to the center because it is a non-for-profit.
It is.
And I know that in this part of the state, there's over 2,300 nonprofits, so everyone is looking for that. But yours is a real special niche, I think, where it's
so.
Yeah, not just stories, but music, touching lives.
Right. People use, each storyteller usually has another art form they bring with them.
Nice.
Whether it's music or whether it's art in some way, drawing the pictures, showing it on a felt board. Some people use movement more than others. Some people use puppets. But it's all storytelling to me.
It's all bringing it to life, too.
Yeah.
And again, changing lives. And not just entertainment, but just really important work that you do. So that's Celebration, that's the school program. And then there's something pretty special that happens in April.
Yes, that's the festival, which was the first thing ever to happen with the story. It came before the Storytelling Center.
And you said 39?
30, this will be the 39th this
Wow.
coming April. And it's the last weekend in April always. It's at Connecticut College at the Crozier-Williams Student Center.
Nice.
It starts on Friday night. Actually, usually it starts with the cabaret, which is, we set up the room like it's a cabaret with little tables. There's wine served and goodies to eat.
Cheese and crackers,
yes,
good hors d'oeuvres.
Yes, and usually the stories are light, so it's a fun night.
Good.
But this year, we have Bill Harley coming as our
Now,
headliner.
who's Bill Harley? I think I've heard that name before.
Bill Harley is a wonderful storyteller and musician. He's well known for his work with children, although he works with all ages. But because he is so well known to kids, we thought, our whole festival is just for adults. And we're having Bill Harley, we've got to do something for kids.
Yes.
So on Friday before the cabaret.
So this will be Friday the 24th
Yes.
of April. Okay, what's happening?
Bill Harley is going to give a family concert at the Nathan Hale Magnet School in New London.
Is that open to the public?
It is open to the public.
Nice.
And it is free.
Free?
Yes.
There's nothing free in life anymore, is there?
The principal over there, Carlos Leal, is a wonderful man who is letting us use his school for this. And he just wanted it to be something that anyone could attend. So he said, I don't want to charge any money. Let's just bring the folks in.
And just New London residents?
Anybody who comes, it's fine.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes.
And what time is that going to be, or don't we know yet?
I'm not sure, 5:30 or 6.
Okay.
Early.
Okay. So after school gets out, for sure, because
Yep.
school gets out around 3 probably, I'm not sure exactly.
And it's nice because we have a strong relationship with that school. We have storytellers in kindergarten through 2nd grade every year, multiple times, working with the teachers and students. And this year we've added on a component where we're going to teach the 4th graders how to become storytellers.
Oh, wow.
And then they will put on their own storytelling festival for the school community. And a couple of those kids are going to open for Bill Harley at the festival.
That's amazing, Anne. You just must be, well, you are glowing. This is just, it's a movement. It's not just telling stories it's huge.
It is.
Because
it's hard to explain the warm feeling that we all get from it. It's wonderful.
Well, I think you change lives. It's kind of like a moving pulpit almost to some extent,
Yes.
where you go and you impact people and hear a different perspective and opening up doors and hearts and minds. That's amazing. It's beautiful. So tell me a little bit more about Bill Harley. He's also a musician, I think?
Yes, he does almost all original music. So his songs tell stories, and he's like someone who never grew up, is what I want to say. The original Peter Pan,
I love that.
He remembers what it's like to be a kid. And his songs and stories are about his own experience as a child or other people he knew. And the way he shares it, the kids get that. Oh, I get that. I got in trouble in school once.
We all did,
yeah.
right? I mean, that's how you learn to grow up to be a civilized person, by
Right.
making little mistakes and having little correction.
Right.
And then
And he has a wonderful sense of humor, so you can laugh at yourself even if it's a big problem.
Well, and that's kind of what I think. The other day somebody called me a snowflake, and I'm like, hey, I kind of like snowflakes. Snowflakes are individual, and they're beautiful, and maybe they melt a little too quickly, and maybe that's what they meant when they called me a snowflake. But it's just kind of that adversity that I think we deal with in life that takes you to have a story about it, that makes you laugh about it later. Yep. Yeah. Little pearls of wisdom that come your way through these processes and stories.
So Bill will hit up the families on Friday, late afternoon, early evening, and then he will get over to Connecticut College. He'll be part of the cabaret.
Nice.
And then Saturday morning, the two things that happen. One is Barbara originated what was called the Gathering of Tellers. And those are 4 to 6 storytellers who each get 15, 20 minutes. So everybody gets a chance to hear them, to get their style, to see what kind of stuff they do. And then in the afternoon, those same people will be giving workshops.
Nice.
Some of them might be giving longer performances. So if you see someone in the Gathering of Tellers who you really connect with, you can just follow them around for the rest of the day and enjoy yourself.
They won't accuse you of stalking or
No,
anything.
we allow it. We allow it.
Stalking is allowed.
So the Gathering of Tellers happens first. Then Bill Harley will take up the second half of the morning doing his own adult storytelling concert, which I'm sure will involve music as well. Then we break for lunch. And then the afternoon, we split up into small groups. Some people will take workshops. Some people just want to come to listen, so they'll go to other performances, which allow the tellers to do longer pieces. Some people have stories that are 45 minutes long.
Wow, that's a long time to tell a story.
Yes.
So who would this be good for, Anne, as far as the festival is concerned? Who would be... I hear educators would benefit by attending the Connecticut Storytelling Festival, especially the workshop, if they want to develop some of that.
That's right.
Themselves.
We have, at this festival, we have a workshop specifically for educators on how to tell a story, because a lot of teachers, feel comfortable reading to their class, but not so much telling a story. So it'll be a workshop helping them to tell a story, even if it's a story that they've known for a long, long time. The Three Bears. Right. It's different than reading it.
Taking the book down and then just being comfortable.
Little tips of how to go about it.
So you're actually teaching telling.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. So that'll be one of the workshops. There's another woman named Elisa Permain who is giving 2 workshops, one on bullying and one on forgiveness.
Wow.
Both of those I think would be interesting to educators.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And who else? I'm thinking educators, teachers. Who else do you think of?
People in healthcare.
Healthcare, so nurses, doctors, physical therapists.
Sure.
Anybody, either medical or...
Lawyers, let's try lawyers.
Wow.
Aren't they storytellers?
Oh my gosh, yes,
Politicians?
Well, yeah, right, politicians.
I would say anyone who connects with people in their work or in their family can benefit from it. Sure.
Businesses. Sales.
Absolutely. Sure.
Wow, yeah. Just making that real personal connection, just looking at somebody's, in their face, in their eyes, seeing that light, sharing the vision, sharing the joy, or the sorrow.
Yes. Yep.
Wow, that's really amazing. I love that. That's beautiful. So, is there a story that's a particular story that you really like to tell, or?
Oh, I have many that I tell usually to kids. So I'm not going to tell you one of those.
No. Well, we're running close on time. We just have a couple of minutes left. So is there anything that you would like to share? How would people get in touch with you if they wanted?
Yes. We have a website, which is www.constorycenter, C-O-N-N, storycenter.org. And then you will see places to click to find out about where celebrations are, what we offer for the school programs, what's going on at the festival. It will all be on the website. And you can email us through the website as well.
And there's a directory of tellers, I've been told.
We have a directory of tellers, yes. And these are basically people who want to take out an ad on our website, and they describe themselves, what kind of stories they tell, and how to reach them.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a good tool as well.
Okay. So there's a lot that you do, there's a lot that's going on, and we know how to reach you now. And you are a nonprofit, so...
We are a nonprofit. We have memberships, $55 annually, and then you receive emails from us telling you what's going on around the state, what storytelling groups are doing, and how you can be part of it. And we also accept donations at any time.
Okay, okay. So it's a non-for-profit, so, and that would be a tax write-off at the end of the year if I wanted to donate $50 or
any amount. We appreciate
$500,000.
Okay, I'm signing you up.
Whatever is good. Okay. Well, I think that you're doing beautiful work, and I think it's amazing to say that you have changed lives, and it helps you to stay young, I would think, too.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. My grandchildren are getting too big now, so I love being around with the children. It's a good thing.
Oh, that's lovely. Very good.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your instruments and how the instruments play into it. No pun intended with that.
Right?
Yeah.
I often will take a story and then find a song that goes with it.
Okay.
You know, that is either about the same animal or about the same theme or whatever, that I can sing with the kids either ahead or after the story to reinforce that thing. I also will ask the kids, how is a story and a song, how are they alike? How are they different?
Well, to me, songs are stories.
Yes, they are often.
Yeah, right.
They often are. And the kids will come to realize that the choruses are like the point you're really trying to make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so sometimes we'll take a story and I'll ask the kids to help me turn it into a song. What parts of the story were really important, so and what is going to be the chorus?
Are you a composer then too? Have you
I'm
written
okay
some
with
songs
lyrics more than tunes.
Uh-huh.
So with the kids, I often will take a familiar song, something they all know, and
sure.
so we don't have to worry about that part and just deal with the words.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. This has just been such a pleasure, and I feel like I have gotten smarter and more informed, and I thought I knew a little bit about what was going on in the storytelling world, but we know how to connect with you, we know where you're located, we know about your website, and that it's a growing, really kind of a movement. So.
It is. There are a lot of other storytelling groups that are forming all over the state. A lot of it having to do with personal stories.
Okay.
People have a real need for that, it seems like these days. And popping up with all these regular either story sharing groups, that people who help each other with their stories, or performances for the public. So we're going to have a page on our website. We don't have it yet, but we will, that describes who all these other people are as well.
Beautiful.
Yes.
That's nice, yeah, because we need to know how to connect. And
yes.
There's just something missing with us right now, that we don't have that at a better level, I think.
I think stories will help us connect better than Facebook. That's my theory.
Isn't that the truth? And there's a certain cordialness that people have, I think, with storytelling. And of course, like the Three Billy Goats Gruff, where there's the troll is the person. And we don't want to be that troll. We want to be the, right? We just want to go eat our grass on the other side of the bridge.
On the other hand, if you have a little troll inside, it's a good way to get it out. Just tell the story.
Exactly. I remember doing that with some kids one time with I think it was I Was So Mad, or what was the Maurice Sendak book?
Oh yes, The No Good, Very Bad Day.
Yes,
or something.
yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had a kid once, I love to tell stories and be the witch in a story. And one kid listening to the story said, "I see that hat on top of your head."
Whoa.
I didn't have one.
Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, we're up and out of time, but thank you. So that was great.
Thank you.